Oops. I was streaming there for a second and didn't think it linked again properly to the broadcast that I had set up. And so I'm like, oh, I'll stop it and I'll just create it again. And then, oh, that was right. So if by the luck of the Irish, you were like, oh, Brash is going to yammer again. Let me see what he's up to. And then you click the video and then it was like, oh, it's not there. It's because I was having a series of technical difficulties on my side. So it is the end of January. It is January 31st. It's a Saturday morning. It's 8:30 a.m. I've got myself a little cup of Coffeezilla over here, and I'm going to drink it. And that's a typical Saturday morning for me. You know, I boom bap through the night. Sometimes I get 6-7 hours of sleep. I wake up, and then I look at the world and what's going on in it. And last night, while I was doing a session online, you can see it, and I'll leave a card. I hope I did that right. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not very good at YouTube yet. I'll leave the thing so you can go and see the session that of me making the beat last night, or making beats last night. And during that, apparently Jeffrey Epstein files were released. The ballpark of 3 million. I started taking a gander around and I said, I'm going to go live. I'm going to go live for a series of reasons in regards to this, because I am somebody who I think discussion and objective thought are very important for people to be able to operate well in the world, and I'd like to help facilitate that to a certain degree. Just by taking a look, there's a lot of really awful things about some very powerful people that are coming to light, potentially. I am not the judge, jury, or executioner of anybody. So, in the instance of getting upset with me, I'm a conduit of this information. I am not somebody who is enjoying anything. I'm also open to the speculation aspect. I'm not a jury, so I can't say that something is absolutely wrong. All I can do is look at facts, but you're never going to hear any I will say no definitive statements about anything in regards to this. Despite the smallness of the YouTube stature here, I feel like the subject's very hot to handle, understandably. And look, I hope justice is served. I hope people that are doing things that they're not supposed to be doing are brought to it. And they pay for the injustices that they've perpetrated on society. I don't think this is, I don't think this is good for anything, ultimately, for any of us, but we have to be honest about it. It would be the equivalent of society getting a cancer diagnosis. Like if society were a single person. You want to stick your head in the sand and pretend you don't have a problem? Okay, fine, but that problem's going to get worse. You can't hide from the problem because you are a part of the problem. You're connected to it, regardless of whether or not you want to admit that. We all have to live together, and with this disgustingness that was going on, and the more of it coming out, everybody should know Coffeezilla. Everybody in my age range. I'm in my early 40s. Everybody in their 30s and everybody in their 20s, even, late teens, should know who Coffeezilla is. He is absolutely and tremendously important to journalism today. There's not too many people who are as brave as he is to just keep going. What's going on with that? What's going on with that? Anybody doing that is putting their life on the line. Facts. I think the Watergates have busted open on a lot of things, so I don't think he's in as much critical danger as he was, but him being a mouthpiece for, well, he's not a mouthpiece for anything. You know, I got to really watch what I say. Him being an arbiter of truth is what I should really be saying. He's excellent. He's an excellent example of journalistic integrity, in my opinion. And he doesn't let up. I will only speculate about Jake Paul, but my, God, I hate my hair. My personal opinion on Jake Paul is that guy, nothing would ever change in his life if he was just honest about what his failures were. He just couldn't take an L. And I just want to keep it at that. It's pretty clear that Jake Paul couldn't take an L. That's pretty actually well documented in the courts of him saying that, you know, he just has it out for Coffeezilla. Actually, let's get Coffee up on screen. The guy is at risk. He is an asset to the American public, to the general world public, if we're being real, because this is the internet. This is international. You know, our Mexican and Canadian brothers and sisters and everybody in South America and Europe can also benefit from this great man. So I haven't watched this yet. There's going to be a lot of things that come to light during this stream. I'm probably not going to be your number one source for it, but I'm going to react in real time to whatever devastating news this is. I know Bill Gates has already been named. There were speculations about a reason for a divorce that I think is kind of... I'm going to let Coffee do it. But America, we got to wake up and go through this. We need to take the medicine and fix this problem. Take it away, Coffee.
The FBI just dropped 3.5 million files, and it is incredible. Huge bombshells about some of the most powerful people on the planet. I can't believe they let some of this stuff out. I mean, it is stunning. Honestly, one of the biggest lies we've seen is the idea that the FBI could possibly come to us and say, not only is there not a client list, there was no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. Guys, we're about to see planned blackmail to one of the most powerful people on the planet, and that is Bill Gates. Listen, there's a lot we're gonna get to, but we have to start with probably the craziest revelation here, which is Jeffrey Epstein emailing himself about Bill Gates. Now, if you don't know, Bill Gates and Epstein had a relationship post.
All right, so the curiosity has gotten the better of me here. I really want to see what that says. I can't. Here we go. Proving as much information as possible to the public while simultaneously protecting victims. Much of the material is subject to court-ordered sealing. Only a fraction of this material would have been aired publicly had Epstein gone to trial. As the seal, something only to protect victims, and it did not expose any additional third parties to allegations of any legal wrongdoing, I'm assuming. Through the review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of the materials and will not permit the release of child pornography. This systematic review revealed no incriminating client lists. There was no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not cover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Consistent with prior disclosures, this review confirmed that Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims.
That Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. Guys, we're about to see planned blackmail to one of the most powerful people on the planet, and that is Bill Gates.
I have to apologize because I have to read everything for something like this. So there's going to be a lot of stopping. Things that Coffee glosses over, I'm going to be the glossary video. How about that?
Listen,
I'm going to read all. I don't know if I can. There are 4 employee co-conspirators that were indicted, but that were not indicted, but named in NPA Exhibit 81 and referenced in the indictment. Jeffrey Epstein, 19 CRIM 490, The petitioner was not. New evidence reveals that there were about 25 men, which the plaintiff lawyers reached secret settlements. Ooh, that's co-conspirator behavior.
But we have to start with probably the craziest revelation here, which is Jeffrey Epstein emailing himself about Bill Gates. Now, if you don't know, Bill Gates and Epstein had a relationship post 2008. That's a big year. You're going to hear a lot today because 2008 was the time that Epstein pled guilty for soliciting of somebody under the age of 18. He was a predator at this point. Everybody knew it. Now, eventually, Bill Gates would get divorced when all of this came out. Melinda Gates said it was part of the direct cause for the divorce. She said she met Epstein and said he was evil.
He was evil personified.
So you have to understand, this is like Bill Gates' kryptonite. He's one of the richest men on the planet. He's got this huge philanthropy arm. But this relationship with Epstein has been a huge problem for him. And Epstein appears to have known that because in 2013, Bill Gates appears to be distancing himself from Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein seems to have a problem with that. He says, I assume the dedication to our relation went both ways. Larry has now asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement. Basically, he's got to shut up.
All right. I got to back it up.
Huge problem for him. And I assume...
All right. Over the last 6 years, I'm aware accidents happen. It is how each of us has chosen to deal with this unfortunate event that has me dismayed beyond comprehension. You have decided to discharge me from my job. Had Larry, your PR person, tell me that I engaged in morally inappropriate behavior and then asks me to be the major actor in a cover-up so that you can maintain the reputation that you have worked so hard to achieve. Shortly after my critical eye operation... What? I guess he had surgery or something. Shortly after my critical eye operation, I spent my day having your emails read to me so as not to miss a beat. When I could see out of one eye, my first task was to correct my vision in that one eye so that I could read them myself. I assumed, and that's what Coffee read, dedication to both ways. Larry asked me how to recommit to a confidentiality agreement and have categorically told me that you were of the firm mind that we should no longer have any direct ongoing business relationship, yada, yada, yada.
The dedication to our relation went both ways. Larry has now asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement. Basically, he's got to shut up about his relationship with Bill Gates. And this is where the blackmail starts, and it comes in the form of like, if I were you, I would do X if I were the type of guy that you should be. He says, in that regard, I suggest I buy you the house that you had your heart set on. In addition to 5 years of severance, we'll buy you out of the investment contract we agreed upon, 30 to 40% of an 100.
I'm so confused. Who is writing to who now? That's what I have done, and I had been in your shoes. What I did receive, however, an unfriendly, strongly worded email.
$1 million partnership for $30 million in today's terms. That's what I would have done had I been in your shoes. Then he lays out what he has on Bill Gates, or what he says he has. Quote, to add insult to injury, you subsequently, with tears in your eyes, implore me to delete the emails I had regarding your STD. Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you could surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your I mean, this is insane. It's completely insane. It's like basically laying out in text form, I would give me millions of dollars. And I can't believe...
Yo. Surreptitiously give to Melinda. Okay, so the speculation or the fact that was listed in this document is that Bill Gates got an STD. This is the speculation. I'm not saying definitively, but the speculation in that Bill Gates caught something, an STD, and then gave it to his wife, and he just all wanted it to go away. So he was going to put drugs in his wife's system. I was married. I could never imagine doing something like this to my ex-wife. Even as an ex-wife, I can't imagine just being like, oh, hey, I'm going to, secretly put drugs in your body to eliminate what I think might be maybe an infection because, I also don't know if you have it. I just know that I have it. It's so insane. The abrupt divorce that happened with Bill Gates, it makes a lot of sense now. I remember when that news came out being like, what? And then they mentioned Epstein during it.
I believe you're asking me to delete the message where you were going to give STD medication to your wife without her knowledge. I mean, it's complete. It's crazy. It's just completely obvious what he's doing here. It's just a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Here's what you should do. But now that coming out after Epstein's death, this looks really bad for Gates, obviously, because you usually wouldn't blackmail somebody for something that's really completely false or.
But I want to see what that document
regarding your STD.
He goes over documents
your request that I provide you antibiotics that you could surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your. I mean, this is insane. I mean, it's completely insane. It's like
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I couldn't even react to it. I know I made the thumbnail with like the like eyes wide and like the Epstein and the Ghislaine Maxwell in the background, but like honestly. I don't even know how to process any of this. It's not funny. If I laugh, it's defensive because it's out of disbelief.
Basically laying out.
You can laugh and find something not funny.
I would give me millions of dollars, and I can't believe you're asking me to delete the message where you were going to give STD medication to your wife without her knowledge. I mean, it's complete. It's crazy. It's just completely obvious what he's doing here. It's just a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Here's what you should do. But now that coming out after Epstein's death, this looks really bad for Gates, obviously, because you usually wouldn't blackmail somebody for something that's completely false or fake. I mean, maybe he did that. But we also know Bill Gates had affairs. Obviously, Melinda credits it for their divorce. So it's hard to believe there was nothing sketchy going on. Bill Gates, of course, maintains that it was completely above board. He says the fact this allegation was in here just shows how much Epstein was willing to defame people. But Epstein lays it out. He says he helped Bill get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls, facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, and to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. Look, guys. This is exactly what we suspected the whole time. Epstein was providing
Adderall for bridge tournaments. This is what the elites are doing. They're taking Adderall for bridge tournaments so that they can have a competitive edge in bridge. This is insane, man. This is nuts. There's just so many cheaters and liars in the world. This is insane.
Services to rich people and expecting payment via blackmail. Now you might say, and it's true that we don't know that Epstein ultimately sent that version of an email to Gates. All we know is he sent that to himself. He may have planned the blackmail and just been drafting something. But what we do know are two things. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Gates was threatened by Epstein over an affair. We also know that after this blackmail email Jeffrey sent to himself was written, eventually Gates sent a $2 million donation to MIT directed by Jeffrey Epstein, which is a bit weird if you had distanced yourself from the guy and y'all had this big falling out. Now, again, do we know for sure that Bill Gates did?
Yeah, so he's hitting the speculation mark right now. We don't know. We don't know, even though the evidence in those documents is very strong. We can't definitively say. It's just not, we can't until there's a court order or something. But I wouldn't be surprised if now, with this evidence coming out, there's got to be an arrest, right? The evidence of there being something gnarly here is pretty thick. But I can't definitively say. I'm not a judge, jury, or executioner of anything. But Epstein was not a fiction writer. He didn't write a lot of novels. He didn't create a lot of stories. He didn't make any screenplays. There was a lack of material on Broadway created by Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think any of that would be based on a fictitious premise. But what do I know? We can only speculate.
did all of that. No, of course we don't. But do I think Bill Gates was innocently looking for charity advice from a after he already pled guilty? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm not that gullible. And speaking of not that gullible, we've been lied to also by another richest guy on the planet. Geez, it's a shock why they don't want to put this out. Elon Musk, who has been saying for years that it is a lie that he went to Epstein's island. In fact, he says he refused to go. From Elon, he says, Epstein tried to get me to go to his island. I refused. He says, anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt. Later responding to another headline, which said Elon Musk planned trip to Epstein's private island. And he says, this is false. But of course, we start to dig through the files and we can see on Epstein's calendar that Elon Musk is booked in December 6th of 2014. But maybe you don't believe that. That's just the word of Jeffrey Epstein. But maybe you'll believe.
I want to point out something that I noticed just now.
And we can see on Epstein.
Elon Musk to island, December 6th. Is this still happening? So I have to talk about an experience that I had to kind of frame what this could mean. This is just a speculation, but this is like something that happened in my life. I knew somebody that I worked with somewhere. I'm going to be very vague because really these details don't matter. But I worked with a guy who really enjoyed booger sugar. And I didn't know this about him. I was 19 or 20 at the time. And it's a city in Connecticut he invited me to. It doesn't even really matter which one. And he's like, yo, come on out, man. We're hanging out. We're going to a party. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, man. I'm getting to know a coworker. Yeah, I'll come to a party tonight. Why not? I go with that person to a place, and I go inside, and if there had been a raid or something that happened in that minute, I would have had so many problems. But everybody was there was like more than 24 people there, and they were all just openly doing it. And I was like, okay, all right. And I didn't want to just run out because I didn't want to create any chaos or disturbance for these people. But I was there for about 15 minutes, looked around, said, all right, well, nice seeing you. Bye. And I left. I would like to think that, when you're in the billionaire club and there are other billionaires in the billionaire club, things have to be very mysterious. And these people know how to play the power game, so they're not upfront with each other about who they are or what their intentions are. And, but when you're a billionaire, everybody approaches you like they're your friend, I would assume. It's obviously not a life experience I've had, but I could assume. One can clearly speculate on this. I'm wondering if is this still happening was, hey, I'll hobnob with you, you hobnob with me. I've got mineral deposits and things and information about stuff and accounting. And, there's all these people talking about, the parties that are fun. I could see how just by the proximity of the billionaire club, Elon Musk could potentially get sucked into something that he's actually not a part of. And just is this still happening could be evidence of that. Now, that's the speculative benefit of the doubt. Do I think that it could go the other way because of something Coffee said or something that's in the files? I mean, there's 3 million pages. I'm sure it's getting fed into an AI. You got to be careful about the machine lies, though. So I'm going to let this play for another 5 minutes. I know I've rambled on, but yeah, these are big problems here. Society has cancer. We got to take the medicine.
Epstein's calendar that Elon Musk is booked in December 6th of 2014. But maybe you don't believe that. That's just the word of Jeffrey Epstein. But maybe you'll believe the word of Elon Musk, who was caught emailing Jeffrey Epstein to go to his island post the guilty plea. Elon Musk writes, "We'll be in BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Good time to visit." Jeffrey Epstein says, "I will send a heli for you." Later, Elon Musk writes to Epstein, probably just to Lula and me, his ex-wife, what day and night would be the wildest party on your island? The world's richest man.
Okay, so what I said a minute ago... Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what to say to that. Now I'm really going to let it play.
Is asking
Fuck,
the most
I'm wrong.
wild man
I don't know what to
for
think.
the wildest party on his island. And then it gets more explicit. In 2012, remember, this is the guy who said, "I refused it. I could never do that."
Just remember that I'm dumb.
Right? It's false. But here in 2012, he says, "Do you have any parties planned? I've been working to the edge of my sanity this year. I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. The invitation is much appreciated, but a peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for." Guys, he can't even play the "I went to go study math" excuse, which is what all these guys do. They say, "Hey, I just went to go talk to scientists." Elon's like, "Hey, I don't want to do that. I'm looking for a party. That's what I'm here to do." And then Jeffrey Epstein writes, "Understood, I will see you on St. Barth. The ratio on my island might make your ex-wife uncomfortable." I can't believe these guys are lying to us, and people are swallowing it still, thinking that Elon Musk had nothing to do with this guy. So again,
I'm feeling something that a lot of people are probably going to feel during this, and this is part of the honesty and the take the medicine thing. So... I don't want this to be true. I don't want this to be true. I just don't want this to be true. I don't want it to be true. I don't like it. Because what it means is if you bought a Tesla or a product or pay for X or anything, ultimately what that would mean, if this is all true, again, all speculation, is that this has been all for the benefit of somebody who... It would be like finding out that Elon Musk committed murder when he was like 19 and got away with it. For no reason, like a serial kill kind of murder. Like, "Oh yeah, just come out to the field, Bob." Pew, pew, pew. Okay, Bob's dead. 3 bullets. We don't know who killed Bob, you know, and then years go by and then the forensics break and they're like, "Oh, we found a hair follicle on something or whatever." And it turns out that they have irrefutable evidence in the future of some wrongdoing. Yeah, I would want Elon Musk to face the consequences for that. But I feel that pull of not wanting it to be true. It's a real problem. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen as a result of all of this, but it's going to be interesting. We'll have an interesting Monday.
2012. That's 2014. But guess what? There's another time in 2013. I mean, this seems like a yearly thing with the boys. Here, once again, Elon Musk writes, "We'll be in the BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays." Again, is there a good time to visit? Jeffrey Epstein, any day, 1st to the 8th, play it by ear if you want, always space for you. They then plan some more, and you might think, well, if Elon ever told the truth, this is when he has to reject, right? Because he said, "I refused." But actually, it appears to be one of those cases where, like, your friend says, like, "Oh, bro, I dumped her." And actually, it was the other way. Yeah, it turns out Elon didn't dump the the dumped Elon. He says bad news.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York. Hopefully, we can schedule another time in the future. Jeffrey Epstein let Elon down. That's actually the real story. Is the reason he didn't go in 2013 was because he couldn't go. Jeffrey Epstein was not there. Guys, I mean, how blatant do they have to make it before we start to just see through it, right? When they issue these ridiculous denials, they're totally associated with the guy after the guilty plea. They lie through their teeth, but they can't even keep their story straight. I mean, that's what's crazy. They're not even competent at this. They get caught in their own lies all the time. Remember, the FBI's official story was they didn't blackmail. Well, before we even had these files, Howard Lutnick was on the...
He said that he refused, and now we have evidence that he didn't refuse. We have evidence that Epstein said, no, you can't come. This also makes the whole Donald Trump is in the he's in the Epstein files thing seem a lot different. If there was ever an example of the pot calling the kettle on this one,
record calling Jeffrey Epstein the greatest blackmailer ever.
I really hope that this exonerates our leader here. I really do. Like it or not, he's the president, and I do not want that to be true.
Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
Interesting. Okay, so Howard has a different perspective. Now, if you don't know, that guy, do you think he's just telling the truth there? Even this guy who's contradicting the official narrative, this guy literally lived next to Jeffrey Epstein. This guy who's like, I'm going to tell the truth. Those guys participated. That guy lived next to Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, he lied too. I love this video we're about to get into because this guy, Mr. He's the greatest blackmailer ever, does he know something we don't know? Because it's interesting, Mr. I'm his neighbor had to also explain how he had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And he lays it out pretty simply. He goes, yep, I lived next to him, but in 2005, I had such a horrible experience that I knew I could never talk to him again.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
We moved in 2005, okay? Jeffrey.
That's the year I got the name Brash. Oh, shit. It's so fucking weird. 2005 was when this guy I used to be friends with, Travis, put the name Brash on a flyer, and I was just like, fine, I'm rolling with it. I'll perform. I'm Brash. And then I thought of 1,000 things that rhymed with Brash. Not trying to self-promote during the unveiling of the pedophile Who Is Who video here. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. Well, we'll see if I get in trouble. I don't know. Look, I'm a new YouTuber. Please don't punish me.
Epstein is arrested in like Kuwait, I think, or something like that. Right. So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. And there's a massage table in the middle of the room. Massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. Ooh. And he says, and the right kind of massage. Ooh. Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry. We have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Well, he couldn't be more clear, could he, right? He says, hey, I may have been his next door neighbor, but I met him once before the 2008 guilty plea.
That's not how we judge each other either. I have never met a person and been like, oh, he said something so reprehensible. I don't write people off like that. Maybe that's what makes me not elite. Because the guy who was doing the drugs that I worked with, I kept my distance from him after that, but I didn't write him off. I just knew that he was trouble. He was a powder keg in my life. If I was around him too much, that would mean I would be associating with somebody who would ultimately drag me down. But I would never go to him you're so morally apprehensible. And you know what? That guy did get popped a bunch. He's been in and out of jail as far as I know. I haven't seen that person in 20 years or so, maybe more. I could do the math, but whatever. But yeah, he it was never on me to like bring someone to justice or anything. And I just, you know, you got to let people do what they do to an extent. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Was the right move for me to run out of that house like, everybody's doing hardcore drugs in there? It's just not a response. And to be like, I am so moral. Oh, I didn't do that because it's such a morally, moral. Like, he's saying that about a massage. He's like, he got weirdly close to me. It's like, I don't think proximity is going to make you judge somebody to that. I don't know. I also wasn't there and I'm speculating, but that is clearly somebody lying now.
Remember I said that was a big deal?
According to this.
And we got invited over, and it was like 5 seconds, and we left, and we realized he was a creep. We were out of there. He made this lewd comment in front of my wife.
Great judge of character.
I would never go see this guy. I mean, he makes it super clear he's gross.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
These other guys, they may have participated.
They participated.
But Howard Lutnick, he could never. No. He's too good of a guy. Well, guess what we found in the old email?
Oh, Howie.
Looky. It's Howard Lutnick writing in to Jeffrey
Howie,
Boy in
why?
2012. Hi, Jeff. We're landing in St. Thomas early afternoon, planning to head over.
Yeah, I don't care about this guy at all. I don't really know who he is. He's just some rich guy who's got too much money. And what? I'm going to puke.
Where are you located? What's the exact location for my captain? Does Sunday evening for dinner sound good? Is this the guy you said made a lewd comment to your wife and, I could never be in front of him? He's gross.
And he's got children on the boat.
Guess what the next email is? My boy's wife messaging in, saying we are headed towards you in St. Thomas. Later, the subject line, Jeffrey Epstein. Good morning, Howard. Jeffrey wished me to pass you along. Nice seeing you. They clearly met, and the guy is just lying about it to your face, to the American public's face, and then tried to hide it from us. I cannot emphasize this enough. They're lying through their teeth. You think this guy perfectly remembers a 2005, like, walking in the guy's house? I remember exactly what I said to him. My wife and I looked at each other, and he wouldn't remember the 2012. I boated over to his private island for a dinner. Is that what we're really thinking? Is that what we're expected to believe?
Yeah, he lied.
This is a momentary lapse in his...
He lied, and the thing that bugs me out is he listed that he had children with him. I have children with me. 16, 14, and then 7 at the end. What the fuck?
Judgment. No, these guys don't...
He's not even talking about that. Coffee didn't even, like, mention that children were brought up there. I don't know.
Don't even care about being consistent, and they're all throwing each other under the bus. Don't you remember Elon Musk saying the time to drop the really big bomb? Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they haven't been made public. My guy, you also are in the Epstein files, very clearly doing stuff you lied about, okay? So is Howard Lutnick, who says, yeah, Bill Gates, he's probably getting blackmailed because he participated. What did you do on the island over in 2012, Howard? Do we know that? I mean, does anyone care? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is some of the most explosive stuff. It's also, again, I have to say, unverified.
All right, here we go. Unverified. He's saying it very loud. We are speculating. We are not drawing any conclusions. We are not saying with any definitive anything what the situation is. All speculative.
Okay,
But here we go. I'm letting the rest of the video play out. I'm not going to talk. My face will tell it all from here.
This is the NTOC, the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. And the challenge with confirming some of this is that these are anonymous tips, or they black them out at least, so we don't know who they are, and anyone can drop a tip. Now, that doesn't mean that you should disregard them. It just means we can't verify them. The other challenge is that the FBI has a heavy incentive to discredit anything with Donald Trump in it, just because He's in the White House right now, obviously. And so I want to be clear, there are notes related to some of these submissions where they say things like complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate redacted. You know, it's hard to tell how much this is the proper due diligence of the FBI, which they should be doing, of course, and not all complaints are credible. But also there's this obvious conflict of interest with the fact that the sitting president is in some of these complaints. But here they are for what it's worth. Complaint summary. Blank reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend also said she was abused by Epstein. Later, there's very explosive claims about big parties with her, other younger girls, and older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. There's claims third hand about a female victim of Epstein's who wants to publish a book citing Leslie Wexner, Epstein, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell is in the videos as well. And it goes on like this for a while. Some of the complaints are just like very graphic, and obviously I'm gonna censor out some of it. But I should also mention the DOJ claims that some of these claims were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had any shred of credibility, they would have certainly been weaponized against President Trump already. Now, I agree that if a complaint is timed right before an election, there definitely could be some other motivations to that. But it's also ridiculous to say that anything in the Epstein files, if it were true, would have come out already. Because why didn't we see the stuff about Bill Gates, for example? I mean, that stuff apparently has been sitting in here for a long time. And not only did no one talk about it, the FBI literally covered for it. I mean, they said that this was not the case. There are big claims against a lot of powerful people. Nobody in that file really wants to rock the boat or release the files because then they get in trouble and their buddies get in trouble. And that's a huge problem. So I don't really buy the idea that, oh, if it were true, it would have already gotten out. I don't buy that. That's why we need transparency. That's why it's important these files are out. But this is just a look at a small fraction of the files. And over the next few weeks, we're going to go through all of the major findings we can from this 3.5 million page document dump. But seriously, think about how discrediting this has been, not only to this administration, but to so many rich and powerful people who have lied through their teeth happily towards you in order to hide their relationship with this man that many of them held post-guilty plea. And some of them, now we know, Epstein prepared blackmail for them and, according to reports, threatened.
Okay, you know, that's it. That's going to be the stream. I'm floored. I'm upset. I really hope everything that they're saying about the president in that document is untrue. I really hope it is just, hey, we're trying to take him down before 2020. You know, if this information was known prior to 2020 and they didn't, man. We got to take the medicine, whatever it is. That's all I got for you. Brash signing off. See you guys later.